Hey everyone, welcome to the Road to Real Estate podcast, your go-to source for all things real estate, whether you're buying, selling, or just curious about the market. Today we're kicking it off with a very exciting guest, the owner of Hawkeye Home Inspections. He's been doing this for many years. He's got a keen eye in the industry, tons of experience, and he's here to share his insights on what's happening in the real estate market right now, the latest trends, and some crucial red flags to watch out for if you're in the market for a new home. So thank you very much, Caleb Hawkins, for joining us today.
Thank
Caleb,
you.
How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good. So just to kick things off before we get started, let's talk about you for a bit. I know you were living in Vancouver for a bit, but you're originally from Thunder Bay.
Yep.
And you came back to Thunder Bay after, a certain amount of years. Was there a particular thing that pulled you back to the city, or tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, family. I'm a runner. I've ran away a couple times.
Yeah.
First time to Edmonton.
Yeah.
And when I was in my 20s, and then came home for a little bit, and then went out to Vancouver, worked in the film industry for almost 10 years.
Cool.
And loved it. BC is amazing. Basically came back just to be with family.
Nice.
So yeah, but there's a lot of opportunities here too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of need for small business, and for anybody that's willing to put the effort in, and I think there's a lot of opportunities here in Thunder Bay.
Cool.
Yeah.
So how's the transition been for you moving back? Is it something you'd consider staying for long haul? Would you go again back to Vancouver?
Yeah, I would say the transition is over. I've been back for 3 years now. In the first year, there was a couple times I asked my wife if we could jump in the truck and drive back, but she made me promise to give it 2 years, which is great advice for anybody trying to do anything for the first time.
For sure.
You got to give it 2 years.
Yeah.
So we did, and now I'm good. I'm comfortable. Everything's great. Happy to be here. And but yeah, no, we love BC. I could see. I don't know if that chapter's over. I could see end up being out there again. But I'm going to raise my son here, and yeah.
Cool.
We'll be here for a while.
So how long have you been in the home inspecting business for?
So 3 years in Thunder Bay, and then out west in Vancouver, it's a licensed industry. So it took me 2 years to get my license.
Okay.
While I was working full time as a carpenter.
So did you have to do a course for that, or what did you have to do?
Yeah, it's regulated by the government. So you have to do basically university courses. There's a home inspection program they put you through, and then hours of training with industry professionals. Yeah, and roughly takes 2 years part-time.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, a lot of work.
Yeah, so you've been pretty connected with realtors in Thunder Bay, and you've been pretty busy. I know we've done a lot of work together.
Yep.
So what's the general feeling you have about the field recently, and how do current market trends in home inspections reflect what's happening in the market?
I don't follow or analyze the market.
Okay.
I leave that up to you guys.
True.
We are a service. I mean, it's hard for me to even guess or know what's happening at any given time.
Right.
I know that it fluctuates. I'm busy spring, summer, it kind of drops off. Anytime there's a holiday, it seems to drop off. Lots of stuff like that, but I can't even guess at what the market's doing, or to be honest, I don't really pay attention to it either.
Yeah. No. That's
sometimes I'm busy, sometimes I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah. As far as like inspections, I can speak on home inspectors in Thunder Bay. The difference, in Ontario is that there's a lot of pop-up inspectors here.
Right.
By that I mean that there's no regulation by any governing body to be a home inspector.
So that must be tough.
Tough for the buyers or for clients. It doesn't affect me, except that there's somebody that's, that tries to do the job for less, or...
That's what I mean. Is that some sort of liability? Like, do you think that's concerning? moving forward for
It's
home inspections and people in the market that are trying to avoid home inspections or get one done without putting a condition in for it, to leverage a more clean offer kind of thing?
Yeah, I think the biggest concern is for the clients.
Yeah.
And I feel like as you being their agent should be watching out for them, make sure that they get a good home inspector, right? So
Definitely.
I think my advice to anybody buying a house and wanting a home inspection is if you call around for inspectors, I think price shouldn't be the first question.
I agree.
That's asked.
I agree.
I would ask education.
Yeah.
Because there is good education. There's some really good home inspectors in Thunder Bay that are highly educated. The difference is nobody's requiring it.
Right.
So they're doing it on their own accord. They're educating themselves. Some of them, maybe they have some background. Maybe they were in a trade at some point. There's really good home inspectors in Thunder Bay. There's other, options where you can take a 2-week course and read a book and then start being a home inspector, right? So
yeah.
I would ask education, experience, obviously.
Yeah.
And most importantly, I would ask if they have insurance.
I was just going to ask that.
Yep.
Yeah. So are there home inspectors that actually practice and do home inspections without insurance?
Most likely there are.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah, and I think that's part of, if a home inspector is less expensive or cheaper than everybody else in Thunder Bay, I'd be curious why.
I'd be questioning that, yeah.
And one of the main things, one of our big costs as being a home inspector is the insurance.
Yeah.
That's probably our biggest cost for the year. So if somebody is less than everybody else, there's a chance that they're not fully insured.
Yeah, there's usually a reason why, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that's similar to when, a seller wants us to lower our rate so we can provide service and potentially get the listing. But if you're going to lower your rate just to get every listing, then are you going to give proper service? Do you have all the, requirements? And are you going to do the best job, or are you just going to do it to get the work?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, if you're good, you know your worth.
Exactly.
And you don't need to lower it for anybody.
I agree. Yeah.
I have a number of what I'm worth, and I don't change that number.
I think that's the way it should. So, yeah. So with that, are you noticing any specific type of properties or issues that have become more common in the recent market? Are there things you're doing for home inspections that you're seeing more issues with, or more red flags? What's the most common thing that you're looking for in a home inspection that is important for the buyer to know versus what they think they should be looking at? A lot of buyers are looking at cosmetic issues. A lot of buyers are looking at things that aren't a primary concern of yours when you're going through a property.
That's a good question. Obviously, to
rephrase that, what are some of the common red flags that you're looking for to be cautious when you're looking at a property? Even when I'm looking at a property for my buyer, without going into things that aren't to my scope, like electrical, plumbing, and stuff like that. What are things that I should be looking for that you look for right away?
Yeah, that's good. I mean, as a home inspector, I'm looking at everything big and small. Some issues are easy fixes. There's a lot of things that people get wound up about that aren't a big deal, especially with older homes. It's almost a given. Maybe a little bit of electrical, like ungrounded outlets and things like that, where there is a fix for that. We don't have to lose our marbles over things like that are pretty classic.
Right.
I think one of the things that maybe I'm looking at that maybe just someone coming to look at a house is not paying attention to is I'm always looking at things that anything to keep water away from the structure. So potentially you're not looking at the grade, you're not looking at the eaves troughs, things like that, which is a very, very simple thing, but it's overlooked, right?
Correct.
So one of the things I do, obviously there's a lot of seepage issues in Thunder Bay.
Exactly.
A lot. And one of the first things we look at is the grade outside. Can we improve that? Are the downspouts far enough away from the house? Like very, very simple fixes.
Right.
That's something a lot of people obviously is it's a big issue in Thunder Bay. Sometimes it's an easy fix, and then if not, then we have the professionals, right? That
Correct.
we come in, look at it. What does it take to waterproof foundation? Add weeping tile, a sump pit.
Yeah,
everything's fixable. It's just a matter of what the client is comfortable taking on.
Absolutely. I feel like, a lot of buyers out there, once they hear that there's been water in the basement and that's been disclosed, they freak out right away without going to the next step of getting you as a professional or getting a foundation specialist or a structural engineer, someone to come in and just see the scope of the work. They back out too quick. It's like premature that once they hear there's moisture issues or there has been water in the basement, they immediately think that it's a reason for them to run away without looking forward.
Yeah. I feel like I've seen both ends of the spectrum where it's like there's clients that they're okay with items that would be overwhelming to me.
Right. Yeah.
Like there's a lot of stuff to deal with, and maybe they're in a panic. Maybe this is like their 10th offer or whatever, and it doesn't matter. They're going to take it. And then I've seen the other side too, where I thought this is a beautiful house with a couple little maintenance items, and that person doesn't want to deal with whatever, the smallest little things, right? So it depends on the buyer, and
I guess every situation is completely different, right?
Yeah, but that's why it's like, for me as a home inspector, I don't really look at the client or what their process has been to get to that.
Right.
I'm just looking at the house, and I'm providing a thorough report to the best of my ability.
Right.
And then I just give them that information. Right. I don't.
So essentially, it's a checklist of items that you're going through your professional opinion, and they can look at that list and navigate what they want to work on, what they don't want to work on.
Yeah.
If the maintenance item is big enough, if it's a red flag, or if it's kind of just a normal home maintenance item.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the big. One of the big things that as a home inspector we need to be careful and professional with is we need to be able to communicate to the client.
I was just going to say that. Yeah.
This is something that should be, I say, further evaluated by somebody that is a contractor that deals with that. So if it's waterproofing, right, let's bring in a waterproofing specialist and have them look at it. And then at least moving forward, if this becomes a problem, this is roughly what it's going to cost to fix it, right?
Yeah.
And then communicating to the client that this is just an every year maintenance.
Exactly. So a lot of it's about the wording when you're explaining that to the buyer of how to proceed or not without alarming them or giving them the report and seeing all these red listed things that they're like, oh my God, I got to back away. There's too many things.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, wording is huge, eh?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And I'm just a messenger.
Yeah.
I'm delivering the information, but I think it's important how you deliver the information.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah, I've bought a house before. It's stressful. It's a stressful time of your life.
Yeah.
And if you can just communicate the condition of the property.
Yeah. Be as transparent as possible.
Yeah, but also like I said, anything can be fixed, and but if you just present them with an issue and then say good luck and walk away, then you leave everybody stressed out.
They're going to be freaking out. Yeah, exactly.
So I try to walk them through the seriousness, or if it is a bigger issue, then
how do we take the next steps to kind of remediate that? What's a solution?
Sure.
Versus running away and being like, this is too much. Let's find some solutions before we make that decision to back away, right?
But lots of that is there's if we talk about ungrounded outlets, there's more than one solution.
Right.
To protect
a lot of people don't know
outlet.
that. They think they have to replace the electrical in the entire house.
Sure. That's the first thought. If nobody knows anything about electrical, that's the first thought, right? And that's not the case.
And 9 out of 10 of my buyers, when they see an ungrounded wire, or they hear about an ungrounded wire, they're like, I can't afford to redo the entire electrical, take down every single wall and redo it from the panel to the receptacle. I'm like, there are other options.
Yeah, there's other options, and exactly. So, but I mean, it's in my best interest, in their best interest, that I point them in the direction of a electrician in that scenario.
Of course, yeah.
Because they might even have solutions that I wouldn't know about, right?
Yeah.
So I try not to step on people's toes either, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Cool. That's great. Good to know. Do you face any further challenges or big challenges in such a fast-paced market? And when deals are done, do they give you like 3 days to do an inspection and you're kind of frantically trying to book one in, or because of so many offers, like the multiple offer situation, that everything's so fast paced right now, right?
Yeah. So I struggled with this a little bit over the summer, and ultimately this is with the agents, putting in conditions and stuff, but they would only give a couple days condition for the home inspection.
That's tough.
Yeah, they're in a sense, they're like, I don't know what the right word is here, but they're handicapping their client a little bit to get a good inspector in that amount of time.
I agree. Yeah. But it doesn't put pressure on you when you're there and you do it. You still take your full time. It doesn't really.
It is very rare if you give your client less than a week to do a home inspection. I usually don't do it.
Right.
I can't.
Fair.
So they get passed down the line.
Yeah.
Because if you're good, you're busy.
Yeah.
Right? With anything. So they get passed down the line to maybe the guy that's not as good.
Yeah.
He's got time to do it.
And I think that's important to note for buyers that are putting, or selling agents that are putting in that condition for their buyers, and sellers are asking because it's so competitive, why do you have a 7 to 10 day period for financing and your home inspection? And it's because you can't always get one right away.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that you're extending the contract and that you're making it look unfavorable or that you need too much time. It's just you're trying to get the financing done and the inspection done, and without pushing either the lender or the home inspector.
Well, what's a typical time for financing?
Like 7 to 10 days, business days is comfort zone for a lender. But yeah, some of them could do it in 3 to 5. You don't want to pressure them that way, but you don't want to do 2 weeks, because the seller's going to look at that and say, if you're already pre-approved and they have to send your documents to the underwriter and you have everything in order before you're putting in the offer in, why do you need 2 weeks for that? So that's where it becomes a little bit of a question from the seller. They don't really trust that buyer.
Yeah, 2 weeks, I understand, but it should be minimum 5 to 7.
Yeah, and I like to do 7 to 10 days.
Yeah.
Cross it over for at least a week, but business days. Yeah.
So I feel like, and the thing is too, you got to remember too, is like, you want your client to be able to digest that information.
Correct.
So if I give them, a 60-page report, and then they have 2 hours to go through it and then make the biggest decision of their life.
Yeah, it's crazy. Exactly. So
that was probably one of my bigger issues last summer. Yeah. But I mean, I just a lot of inspections I've turned down.
Fair. What is your take on a buyer waiving the home inspection to make their offer more attractive? Is it worth the risk?
Well, I mean, to be honest, it doesn't bother me. I don't think about it. I don't get too wound up about it.
Right.
It's pretty simple. It's, if you buy a used vehicle, the first thing you do is you try to bring your buddy who's a mechanic, or even better, hey, can I take the car to the mechanic and have him look over it?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or if you can't do that, then you crawl over that thing yourself, right? Crawl underneath and look at it. And so, that's basically what I do for houses, for homes, for clients, right?
Right.
And if you're waiving on there, you're taking a big risk.
You're taking a big risk.
But it doesn't affect me, and it doesn't. I think maybe when I first started out, I was a little bit hot and bothered about it, but I'm busy enough with the people that want to do that due diligence. But I'm not going to get hot or upset about
Wound up about it. Yeah.
I think it's just the market has created that urgency. To just skip everything and just get yourself in. And obviously you're taking a big risk. I have been hired to do an after the fact home inspection.
How do you feel about that?
You know what? It's better than nothing.
Right.
It's a little awkward because they already own the house,
Right.
and if it's in rough condition, then
But they know that going forward with that, right? They're just probably doing that after to have that maintenance list
yeah,
of
to
items.
do a maintenance list. Maybe the first time home buyers.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
just want to know, hey, what do we need to do every year, right?
Yeah.
To take care of this.
See, that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also like just to give them a priority list, right?
Yeah.
So like this is what I would be working on first, and then down
Second,
the list.
third, and then keep going.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then like I just did one recently for a young couple that bought their first time home, and they wanted to have a list of what should we be working on. You know,
Yeah.
what's our priority list?
Because if you're a first-time home buyer, you don't know that. You're
Yeah.
like, what should I work on first?
Yeah.
If you're trying to throw money at something to improve the value, do you start on the windows first? Do you redo some electrical?
Yeah.
Do you tie in some copper tails? Like, there's so many things that you really wouldn't know where to begin. So
Yeah.
it's nice to have that report to give you the checklist.
So it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
The other options are, this one's a little bit more of a risk, but you could do a pre-offer inspection. Where obviously you would hire me and I would go do the inspection and you would see it before you put in your offer, and then you can put in your offer condition free because you've already done it.
Right.
The risk is if you don't get an accepted offer, you've spent the money on the home inspection.
Correct. Yeah.
So that's a tricky one.
Yeah.
But I have done those.
That's a good idea. I haven't done that too often. We usually do it within the conditional period. But yeah, there's a lot of people that do that so they have a more favorable offer when it comes down to it.
Yeah, that's what I did for myself.
Yeah.
When I bought my own house, I did a pre-offer inspection.
Nice.
Did the inspection myself. That's out of the way.
Yeah.
But you know, at least for me, I can't speak on everybody that does home inspections in Thunder Bay, but for me, I either do it all or I do none of it.
Right.
So there's no walkthrough inspection. There's no what they call 4-point inspections. I either do a full inspection with a full report, or I don't do it at all.
What's a 4-point inspection?
I can't, to be honest, I can't fully remember what that means, but it's just looking at certain items.
Yeah.
So maybe structure.
Right.
It's not looking at everything.
Right.
For me, there's too much liability there.
Yeah.
And the reason is, and I explain this quite often, but the reason is if somebody asks me to look at their foundation, and I have to walk into the house, down the stairs to get to the foundation. Well, I've walked through the entire house to get to the foundation. The liability is that, you know, if something happens down the road, they could say, well, home inspector walked right by this and never said anything.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So for me, it's all or nothing.
That's risky. Yeah, I agree. Good call.
So that's just how I operate. Yeah, I get asked often if I can just look at one thing.
Yeah. Crazy. So what are some common mistakes homeowners make before selling their home that can impact an inspection report?
Oh, interesting.
I see a lot when you're walking into an unfinished basement and the concrete floor is there and they're painting the concrete and covering it up. It looks new, it smells clean, it's freshly painted, looks slick. But at the same time, we always wonder when we're walking through that, what are you covering up, right?
Yeah.
So
I mean, I think it's I don't know if you can really, I don't think that's a mistake, because obviously people want their house to look good.
Of course.
So they do some painting and, you know, this and that. It's, you know, a home inspection is really just what you can visibly see.
Correct.
During the inspection. If they have purposefully covered something up, then, you know, that's going to come out and that's going to put them at risk. So I think if really the biggest mistake a seller could make is not disclosing something, trying to cover something up.
Exactly.
Because even if I miss it, yeah, you've made me liable now for missing something. Because you covered it up, it is possible that you've covered it up well enough that I don't see it either.
Yeah.
But ultimately, they're going to come back. They're going to come after the seller, possibly drag me into it too.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, yeah, if you just want to paint your house so it looks nice and you're not trying to cover something up, then sure, go for it. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Make it nice. But I've had a few friends call me. They've sold their houses and they've had to get a home inspection and they're stressed, you know. I don't think there's anything to really do to be ready for a home inspection.
Right.
I think, like you said, if there's a big issue, or if there is issues, you should have already disclosed it anyways.
I agree. Yeah.
If whatever the home inspector finds, they find, and I don't know if I would try to do anything to spruce your place up for the home inspection.
Yeah.
I think just let it happen. And
that was kind of my next question. I was going to say, are there simple maintenance tips that you wish more homeowners would follow to avoid serious problems down the line?
Yeah, I mean, it's as simple as extending your downspouts and cleaning your eaves troughs.
Yeah.
Simple stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the truth is like me recommending that a client extends the downspouts is not going to ruin a real estate transaction.
No.
But if your downspouts aren't long enough and you're getting seepage because all that water is draining beside the house and coming down and going in the basement,
right?
Well, now you've created a bigger issue.
Exactly.
And that's gonna, now we have problems. So those simple things, sure, absolutely.
So I think sellers should be taking care of those before even listing their home.
Sure.
They should be extending those downspouts. They should be,
clean the eaves trough,
cleaning that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's maintenance.
Yeah.
But I mean, ideally, people would be maintaining their homes on a regular basis anyways.
Yeah.
In a perfect world.
Yeah.
But
do you think people, when they're listening to house sellers, they should go as far as like changing outlets to GFCI where appropriate, or that's something that can be fixed later? It's a pretty simple fix. I know
it's
that.
It's simple. I mean, they're like $30 at Home Depot, and if you're comfortable with electrical, you can do it.
Yeah.
But I mean, sure. Like these little items are going to get picked up in a home inspection, and if you know about them, then sure.
Yeah. So do you think it's actually smarter to do for the seller to do a home inspection and have that available?
So that is, they do that a lot more in big cities.
Yeah.
That's more popular. And I think what it does is it takes out a little bit of negotiating, because basically you're saying, here's my house for sale at this price. Here's the condition of the house. And then, this is the price, and it takes out a little bit of negotiating.
Yeah.
A lot of people are worried with a home inspection, they're going to use that to negotiate the price.
Right.
So that kind of leaves it all up in the air, But yeah, I mean, that I would love to go look at a house and here's a condition, here's a home inspection that was done.
Yeah.
Great. It's a neat little package.
Yeah. Yeah.
In fact, like we've talked about, as everybody does, what could be improved as far as like real estate and stuff, and with the government and wherever. If you had to have a home inspection prior to listing your house, like if that were like put it in place,
mandatory,
it'd be great.
It would be,
because everybody's eyes would be wide open. There'd be no keeping things secrets and covering stuff up. It would be.
See, I've had that before, but I've had. What was it? I think it was there was vermiculite in the attic, and they had a test to see if there's any asbestos present, and it came back that there wasn't. But when I had a buyer that was doing the home inspection and saw that report, they didn't trust that, so they did another one, sent it to the lab, and that one did come back with some sound, like a little bit of asbestos. So I don't know if that's an issue, if buyers are going to not trust that report and think they have to do their own. I'm not sure why they wouldn't trust it, but...
Well, so that's a tricky one, because vermiculite, my understanding of it is it's mined from the ground. Right? And where it was mined, there's deposits of asbestos in the ground. Came out, got mixed in with the vermiculite.
Right.
So the problem is like you could test one area and it would be negative, whereas the other side of the attic is positive.
Right.
So that's a tricky one.
Right.
But
so should buyers be scared of asbestos? I guess if they're going to put in a ceiling fan and they got to drill through the drywall and it's going to be airborne, then
absolutely.
So not asbestos, or should they be worried about the vermiculite because they could contain it?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's caution, but it's any house that is I can't remember the exact year, but any older house, it doesn't matter what it is. It could be the mud on the walls. It should be tested before you touch it.
For sure. Yeah.
It was in floor tiles.
Yeah.
All kinds of stuff you should be testing if you're going to do a renovation. So with my other business, we do a lot of renovating, and the first thing we do is we go in and we take samples of everything we're going to touch.
For sure. Yeah.
And then if it comes back positive, we deal with it accordingly. If it comes back negative, great. But they should be taking those precautions to protect themselves. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Asbestos is a long-term exposure issue. Guys that worked with it every day, those, that's
long-term exposure is where you're gonna get the effect from it, right?
Yeah. But I wouldn't go, if you don't touch it, it's not a problem, right? But for your safety and for to be able to sleep at night, I would be doing it.
You'd be doing it. Yeah. Cool.
And it's very easy to do.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know. Where do you see home inspecting and the industry heading in the next 5 to 10 years? I don't know. It's pretty generic question, but
again, it's like I don't really analyze the market.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm just along for the ride.
Yeah.
I think it's just gonna.
I can speak it on this sense. I lived in Vancouver for 10 years.
Right.
When I got to Thunder Bay, everybody was freaking out about the rising house costs.
Right.
I feel like Thunder Bay is 10 years behind.
I agree.
Maybe a bigger city like Vancouver. 10 years ago, Vancouver was experiencing what is happening now.
Right.
I don't imagine that it's going to slow down or change. I think the cost of housing is going to keep going up.
I think so too. Yeah.
I think home ownership will not really be a common thing for like my kids, for instance.
Okay.
I think by the time they're adults, they'll mostly be renting or I think it's kind of
Just because it's going to be the
affordability
is going to be
too expensive.
Yeah.
And that's common. Like in Vancouver, if you
own an apartment, it was like, wow, that's cool. Like, you guys are doing well. If you owned a house, everybody was curious where your money was coming from.
Yeah.
Because you were above kind of the average.
That's crazy.
And it was just accepted.
Yeah.
It's just part of life.
Yeah. Interesting.
So I think that's where we're headed, but I don't know what we're supposed to do about it. I'm not gonna.
Don't have a crystal ball. Just gonna have to see what happens.
Yeah, and I mean, if that's
keep doing your thing and see what happens, right?
Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think a lot of people. When I was buying my house 3 years ago, they said it was a bubble, it was gonna crash, and obviously I didn't listen.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I didn't listen. I don't foresee that anything's going to go down. It'll keep going.
It'll keep going up for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I always tell if you do have the opportunity to buy a house, I would.
Yeah.
But obviously you don't want to stretch yourself so much financially that you're
going to be house poor. Exactly. Yeah. With everyone competing and the lack of inventory and saturation of buyers, it's just going to keep becoming a snowball effect of competition and less conditions, and it's just going to keep going. And
that's the rest of the country.
I know.
It's just now coming to Thunder Bay. So I think we just accept it for what it is.
We just need to build a ton more houses. Here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, like from my experience, like being a home inspector, what I've seen in the last couple of years is I would say 75% of the homes I inspect are from foreign investment.
Right.
So newcomers to Canada or people buying them in Southern Ontario for rentals.
And that's what's making it so difficult for first-time home buyers that have lived in Thunder Bay.
Yeah, they're now competing with all of that.
They're competing with those guys who are from Southern Ontario thinking they could get 3 houses for the price of 1 down there, right?
Yeah.
So first-time home buyers here are going with their parents are like, they're struggling.
Yeah, they start working together. I mean, like in Vancouver, it's very common for more like multiple generations to live in the same house.
Yeah, absolutely.
So like mom and dad are on the main floor, the younger family is in the basement, and
You just kind of, start working together to figure it out.
Crazy.
So,
Crazy. If you had one key piece of advice to someone about to buy or sell a home, what would it be from a home inspector's perspective?
That's a good question. Well, like I feel like we already touched on the seller one. As far as getting ready to list,
Right.
like by all means, like if you want to pretty it up and put paint on the walls, have at her. Don't intentionally try to cover something up.
Right.
That's not good for anybody. I think honesty is the best.
Yeah.
With doing a transaction. If you had an issue in the past, then just be open about it.
For sure.
And then just maintenance. Like I said, if you want to go around and clean your eaves troughs, and great. I mean, it's going to be.
Which you should, if you want the best value for your house, you should be doing those lists of
take care of your absolutely. As a buyer, I mean, like obviously, if you do get a home inspection, do your research your inspector.
Absolutely.
Like don't call around and take the one that's the cheapest.
Yeah.
Don't save yourself $50. Or someone that doesn't have experience or isn't trained to the best they can be trained.
Yeah.
And like I said, in Ontario, it's not regulated. There is inspectors that have there is a really good training that you can take, and there's a lot of inspectors that have taken that training, and they're really good inspectors. But yeah, ask around, ask your agent. They should know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then don't lose your mind.
Yeah.
Over the home inspection.
I agree. That's good advice. That's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's I always tell my clients they can call me anytime. It could be 5 years later.
Yeah.
If they have a question, I'm happy to help them figure it out.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And
so it should be. Yeah.
Yeah.
To give them that peace of mind, and they hired you for a reason and a service, and it doesn't stop right after you give them the
100%.
You're not like, here's what I think about it. Good luck.
Yeah, exactly. If they want to pick my brain, but I mean, a lot of picking my brain is just pointing them in the right direction of another professional.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I've gone back to people's houses, and if they have something going on, and tried to help them understand and help them point them in the right direction of who they should be contacting.
Good.
Specifically, Thunder Bay is the connections, the professionals that we're connected to.
That leads right up to my next question.
Yeah.
So continue about that.
You as a real estate agent, me as a home inspector, we know trades, we know contractors.
Yeah.
If you don't have someone to help you make those connections, you're just phoning around.
You're
just making phone calls.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you right now, everybody is maxed.
Yeah.
They are extremely busy.
Yeah.
It's going to be very hard for them to make time for you.
Exactly. So literally leading up to my next question, I was putting, because you become one of my closest friends in the business and just in life in general, we do a lot together. I think that says a lot about how we approach real estate. And my question to you is, how important is it for you to build relationships with other professionals in the
100%.
industry?
Yeah. That's what Thunder Bay is. That's probably my favorite thing about Thunder Bay.
Yeah.
Is the connections.
Yeah.
And so, a big thing that you're getting with your real estate agent or with your home inspector is the connections to the people that you need to help you figure it out.
Yeah.
And I think people undervalue that.
I think so too. I think people.
But, I mean, for instance, if you need a plumber right now, go ahead and start making phone calls and see how hard it is to get a plumber.
Absolutely. I know. I have people that are trying to get plumbers, and then we make a call and we have them there by this afternoon.
Yeah,
100%. Wow,
more or less.
Well, yeah,
right.
but I mean,
you know what I mean, though.
Yeah, yeah.
What are your goals moving forward? Do you have any big plans or changes you're excited about in regard to the home inspecting business or your other business?
Right.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, my other business is growing quite quickly.
Yeah.
So that's taking up a lot of my time.
Yeah.
I don't have any. There was a little bit of a Thunder Bay rumor that I was gonna stop doing home inspections.
There's always Thunder Bay rumors.
Yeah.
You kind of those.
Yeah.
Half of them aren't true. So.
I'll set the record straight right now. Hawkeye Home Inspections is alive and well. I'm
Deadly.
100% available. Like I said, it's I need that time. I'm not able to do an inspection tomorrow.
Yeah.
I need time to set it up. So I do need some notice.
Absolutely.
I've stopped traveling out of town. I only do in Thunder Bay.
Right. What about would you do like Quebec?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I'm talking like Nippigan, Atikokan, that
yeah, Marathon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've stopped doing that, but I am available in Thunder Bay. But I'm a word of mouth home inspector.
Yeah.
I have the people that like to use me, and that's what keeps me busy.
Yeah.
So I'm not advertising. I haven't posted on my Instagram for a year.
That's fair. I'm going to have your information in the show notes, so
Yeah.
I'll maybe people will feed off that. And
Yeah, but I am absolutely available.
Yeah.
And like I said, there's some good inspectors in this city and that I respect, and there's inspectors that I recommend if I'm not available.
Yeah.
But just like I was saying before, you want to
have someone you could trust, and
recommended, from somebody is great, and then ask if they have insurance, if they're fully insured, and price shouldn't, if you want to know the price, that makes sense, but don't use that. If there's a guy that's $50 less, I'd be interviewing them both and making an educated decision.
Take that into consideration.
Yeah,
why they're $50 less.
Don't use the cheapest one.
Yeah, I agree.
That's my feelings.
I agree. So one of the last questions, if you look back at your career so far, what's been the most rewarding part about building your home inspection company?
Just like we were talking about, just the connections, building connections.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
I've met some amazing individuals, some amazing agents. So there's some other home inspectors in Thunder Bay that I gotten to know and become acquaintances with, and we check in with each other, and then just getting to know all these trades guys, and
it's cool.
Like my business partner is a real estate agent. I met him while I was doing a home inspection, and we opened another business together.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So there's a lot of opportunity in the city for someone that is willing to work and put in some effort. And but it's the connections is the best part. And,
good answer.
And I learn every day.
Yeah, that's the best part.
Yeah. If you think because you do something like me as a home inspector that I know everything there is to know, then
absolutely not.
It's over.
Exactly. You're always working to keep learning, continuing your education, to become better, to become more trustworthy and personable, and it's just how you keep growing.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I also heard that you're aiming to become a scratch golfer.
Yeah.
How's that going for you?
Pretty close. Pretty close, yeah.
Pretty close, yeah.
I started golfing when I got to Thunder Bay.
Nice.
3 years in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we golf all the time.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Somebody gave me a box of Pro V1s for my birthday.
How'd that go?
I just look at them.
Yeah.
I just take them out of the box and look at them.
Did you lose any yet, or what?
I think I took 2 out and I lost them both immediately.
Didn't you give me one too, and I put it in the bush the first shot? Yeah.
I did the calculations.
So I owe you a Pro V1.
Yeah, I did the calculations. They're $6 a ball.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. So, but we'll get better every year.
Yeah.
We'll do more tournaments.
We'll do more tournaments. We'll go to the simulators in the winter, and by next year, all those tournaments will be that much better.
We did win the Thunder Bay Real Estate Board tournament.
We
this
did.
year.
Yeah, that was cool.
Do you have the trophy in your office, or
no?
Oh,
Did we get a trophy?
Yeah,
Okay.
I gave them to my son.
I'll look for it. Yeah, I think I gave. Didn't I give you mine too?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, nice.
Yeah, so yeah, we'll try to win that again next year.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Caleb. Appreciate it. Can't wait to have you on to talk about your other business. That's going to be an exciting one. We'll have you on there. We'll have your business partner on as well, and we'll have a big conversation.
Yeah, sounds good.
Appreciate it, man.
Okay, thank you.
All right.